Hello friends. Today I'm going to talk about a 2011 French adventure comedy called Original Position and Became a Vista Baby 2. Black men in fashionable underwear are sold at auction together in a very similar to slave market. After this, the picture changes and the viewer finds himself in our time. The story revolves around two half-brothers, Radish and Joel, who were separated in childhood, but now men lead completely different lives. Joel just got out of the slammer after doing time for snatching an old lady's purse. Right now he's shacking up with his mama and his 9-year-old daughter. The dude reckons racism is to blame for all his troubles, including being jobless. But the truth is, he ain't never even tried to land a fancier gig. Reggie's hitched to a white chick, and he's also raising a 9-year-old daughter. His brother's living in a ritzy town and pulling in some decent dough himself, because he works as the mayor's assistant at City Hall. So this one time, they tell Jisoo that his pops is kicking the bucket. The old dude's last wish was to see all his kids, but Régis didn't give a damn, because his dad wasn't really involved in raising him. The dude goes to this family dinner, and out of nowhere, his wife drops an ultimatum on him, threatening to leave his ass for another guy if the hubby don't grant the dying man's wish. Recep's got no choice but to do it. Next day, he flies out to his hometown, and at the airport, he runs into his bro, Joel. Brothers who hadn't talked in over 10 years had to put their beef aside for now. So these two bros, Reggie and Joel, they're heading to their dad's crib in the same taxi. While Reggie's chatting up a storm about his wins, Joel's straight up lying to cover up his failures. Once they get to their pop's place, they meet up with their aunt and stepsisters. Turns out, their old man was a real globetrotter, hooking up with countless women all over the world. That's why the brothers are rocking different skin tones, you know? Man, ain't it wild? This old dude's all giddy about seeing his sons and he's spilling some secret to him. Yo, they're both gonna inherit some fat treasure, dig? The bros are all hyped, but they just get some paper freeing their ancestors for doing something major. Turns out their folks got freed way before slavery was abolished, but not knowing the value, the dummies rip it up while their auntie's giving them the stink eye. She hits them with a spell and sends their butts packing. To the past, where slavery was booming. The guys wake up in a field, wondering what happened and how they ended up there. A couple of scared black men run past. The slave hunters chasing them capture the brothers, take them to a slave market, and sell them to a landowner. Monsieur Joel is now going to have to work under the watch of that cruel overseer Henri who hates coloreds, while Reggie gets sent to the kitchen. The brothers gotta believe they've time traveled. They're now in 1780, and slavery's thriving. Next day, they hear a preacher reading some made-up Bible chapter saying, blacks gotta obey whites. But the educated brothers call out that BS. Reggie even recites the real verse from memory, shocking the preacher. Later, Joel gets beat up by Andre and decides to escape the farm, but knocks himself out cold hitting a post. That same evening, they whipped his ass, and the Régis called him to the boss, who praised the slave for his rare smarts and the ability to read, and appointed him as a manager alongside Andre. Meanwhile, Joel's wounds were being treated by slaves, not Rosalia for the dude. She was really hot, and he tried to kiss the babe, but got rejected. The girl digs this slave named Isidore. In the morning, Régis starts carrying out his duties. Joel's blown away by his bro's crazy antics and calls him out for being selfish, but the dude doesn't give a damn. And not only keeps doing his thing, but also reports back to the boss. When some guests show up, they start mocking the new manager because they don't believe he can read. But when Reggie sits down at the piano, the high and mighty folks shut their traps. But the guy gets whipped by Henry for his talents. In the morning, the bros decide to make a break for it and hop into a Jewish guy Isaac's wagon. But when they get to the house, Isaac reveals their identities. He knew about them from the very start. To the brothers' surprise, Isaac welcomes them since Jewish people face persecution too. Meanwhile, Harding's men arrive at the house, but the brothers manage to escape through the back door. The men reach the ocean shore, find an abandoned boat, and set sail. Ironically, they get caught by the crew of a slave trading ship. The bros ended up at the same slave market where Monsieur Jourdan bought them and got nabbed by his workers again. Luckily, on their way to the plantation, the Broadus got rescued by some folks from the Baron's tribe. Turns out they were all slaves until they escaped from their masters. The new crew welcomed the bros, but when talk turned to wishing death on all whites, Reggie refused to go along since his wife's white. That pissed off the tribe, but the brothers managed to slip away again. So these dudes wake up in the morning and see their auntie, and the bros realize that it was her who put that spell on them, and they're begging her to send them back to their time. They're willing to do anything for it, but the old lady ain't having it. The guys are literally begging on their knees, and after roasting them good, she gives them a hint on how to get back to their century. They gotta make their way to the plantation and help reunite their ancestors Cedar and Rosalind, and fix up one big-ass mistake. The woman leaves them her pipe and tells them to smoke it up. After a mission successfully wrapped up, the bros start thinking up a plan, and the same dude remembers watching some weird scene that seemed kinda hot to him. He recorded what was going down on his phone back then, and they show it to the other guy. The bros think Isidore's thing for guys is the mistake they gotta fix. The guys go back to the plantation and try to make a deal with the owner, but they get branded as disobedient slaves. After getting punished, they head back to their huts and cook up a plan of action. Meanwhile, them white folks are celebrating the daughter of Mr. Ribbon's wedding. The brothers decide to take advantage of this and swipe a barrel of wine from the winery to get the slaves drunk and help Isidore and Rosalind hook up. But in the middle of the party, Regis suddenly notices Rosalind kissing on Joel after making a deal. The brothers end up helping the two lovebirds do the nasty while they're passed out, thinking they did what needed to be done. They decide to get back at the white folks one last time and head to the house. Joel's kissing the host's daughter, while Regis starts breaking furniture and slaps one of the guests. Then this armed dude Henry busts into the room, but the bros just laugh and start smoking a pipe. But nothing happens! The guys realize the magic pipe's been stolen and someone swapped it, so they get grabbed and locked in a cage. Come morning, they're supposed to be executed, but that night the bros get all sappy and spill their secrets to each other. Regis whines about his failed marriage, and Joel admits he's broke and jobless. Then morning comes. Andre's taking the condemned folks out to the field. There's gallows set up, but before the execution, Victor, the little son of Monsieur de Lordre, runs off into the woods because he can't bear to watch that mess. Rosalie chases after him and sees the kid fall into the river. At her screams, the whole fam comes running, and Cedar uses the chance to knock out Andre and save his bros. The men flee, but suddenly they see Victor getting swept away by the current. Without a second thought, the dudes just jump straight into the dangerous river, and it turned out Joel couldn't swim for shit, so Rogers had to save both his bro and the kid. As a thanks for saving his son, Jordan set them free and gave them the papers they'd hilariously destroyed way back when. But instead of taking the reward, the bros asked to let Isidore and Rosalia go too, and hand over the document. Monsieur found their request hella weird, but agreed anyway, so the brothers managed to reunite the lovebirds. But where can we find that magic pipe? Working every day on the plantation, they start thinking they might be stuck in this time forever. One day, Isidore and Rosalie come to say goodbye to the brothers, because they decided to settle in the city. As the guys watch them leave, they get sad, but then Henri shows up and orders them back to work. The overseer pulls out a pipe, lights it up, and blows smoke in the men's faces, trying to humiliate him with that smoke, but then they just up and vanish out of nowhere. The guys come to their senses in the present time and see their aunt standing next to them, holding the original release document in her hands. This gets them hyped up and a few months pass by. Joel finds a steady construction job, but still keeps complaining about the low pay, linking it to the color of his skin. Meanwhile, Regis continues working at the town hall, but one day, after hearing yet another racist joke from the mayor, he claps back at the official. Later on, the bros meet up at the Radish house, celebrating the successful end of their risky adventure, but end up witnessing an argument between their daughters, seeing the girls tear up some old papers. The bros try to stop their kids from fighting, and that's where the movie wraps up, my friends. Thanks for watching. Drop your thoughts on this flick in the comments, and don't forget to smash that like button and hit subscribe.